She tried to turn my dream villa into her personal resort. I was still learning the silence of this house. The ocean didn't roar, it breathed. I'd unpacked one wine glass, one plate, one fork. My parents' photo leaned against the mantel, waiting for a nail and a steadier hand. The phone rang. Rebecca, my sister said, skipping hello. We're on our way, 15 of us, beds, towels, slippers, food, 3 weeks. We'll be there in 40 minutes, hurry up. She hung up. 15 people, 3 weeks. My home paid for in overtime, and holidays I sold to the company turned into Melissa's resort by decree. What rose in me wasn't panic, it was a straight line across my chest. No, I know this pattern. Melissa speaks in declarations. I live in the space her words leave. Just this once, Becky for rent in our 20s that never got repaid. Tuition I covered because the kid didn't deserve to suffer. A wedding I financed because she cried in a cafe. The champagne dried, the bill remembered my name. I looked at the single wine glass. Sunlight scattered in tiny rainbows along its rim, fragile but strong if held right. No, I told the empty room. The word felt like a language I should have learned years ago. This wasn't about a spare room or extra towels. It was the tone. The assumption that my life was a pantry she had a key to. In her math, if I had more, I owed her everything. I used to think yes was kindness. It was compliance. From the kitchen window, I saw dust lift along the cliff road. She wasn't bluffing. Melissa never lied about arrival times. My phone buzzed again. Bring in patio cushions. We'll need air mattresses. You have beach chairs, right? Entitlement dressed as family. I walked the house like a caretaker on rounds. The master was a mattress on the floor, sheets folded at the foot, an unopened bed frame leaning like a promise. The balcony doors were cracked. The curtains breathed, whispering against the floor. This room was mine in the private way. A vow is yours when you whisper it to yourself. I opened the front door for air. Oak warm under my palm, frosted glass, throwing little diamonds across the tile. For one petty second, I considered letting them pound. But I like clean lines, clean records, clean refusals. Engines before faces. A convoy rounded the bend, Melissa's black SUV leading, then stuffed sedans, a van with coolers, a pickup stacked with totes. They spilled onto my drive, laughter selfies, the hiss of a beer can cracking open in the wrong place. Melissa climbed the steps with her arms spread, sunglasses mirroring the ocean, and a small dark version of me. Becky, you lucky girl. This is perfect. We'll take the master. Set up the kids by the pool. No. A coin in a glass. Clear hard, undeniable. She blinked once, annoyed. Don't be selfish. We drove 4 hours. You're not coming in. My voice surprised me low, even a shoreline that doesn't move. Behind her, the chorus, don't ruin the vibe. She's joking. A cooler scraped my threshold. A stranger's hand lifted toward my handle. I stepped into the frame and filled it. Melissa, I said, watching myself reflected small and steady in her lenses. No. Everything stilled, the breeze, the ocean, the part of me that kept mistaking fear for love. I closed the door and turned the deadbolt. One soft click. On the other side, palms thudding, voices overlapping. Melissa's tones stretched sweet over steel. Becky, open the door. I didn't. I set the wine glass gently in the sink. The house hummed around me. The ocean inhaled, exhaled. This time, I told the quiet that finally felt like it belonged to me different. The pounding started like a drumline. Palms on oak, knuckles on glass, voices layered into a single command, open, open, open. I didn't. Rebecca, Melissa sing-songed through the door, sugar stretched over steel. Let's not be dramatic. Let your family in. Family. The magic word that had always turned my spine to steam. I stood there with my hand on the deadbolt and felt it stay bone. Not today, I said loud enough for my own courage to hear it. A beat of silence. Then the latch flexed a stranger's hand, testing my handle like it belonged to them. I stepped back, because anger is brave, but hinges are not. Shadows bloomed across the frosted glass heads, turning a cooler lifted to wedge the door, the vague outline of Melissa's oversized sunglasses, tilting as if she could see through me. The house hummed around me, AC ocean breath, the tiny click of a settling frame. I took that hum into my lungs and walked to the study. I grabbed the folder I'd labeled Deed and Docs on move-in day and set it on the console by the entry like a talisman. I would not be bullied in my own life again. The pounding stopped. A hush. Then the soft slide of metal, the spare key I'd forgotten was still in the fake rock under the rosemary. The lock turned. I reached the door just as it opened. Melissa filled the frame in one fluid step, and like a tide behind the moon, 15 people surged with her. Perfume, sunblock, beer. Laughter too loud for a foyer. Becky, she trilled, pushing past me like we were mid-hug. You left the key out? So thoughtful. That key, I said, is for emergencies. This is one, she said brightly, snapping her fingers over her shoulder. Shoes off, people. She likes floors clean. A young woman I didn't know peeled off sandy sandals and patted across my marble, leaving damp half-moons. A man dragged a wheeled cooler, its plastic wheels squealing over the grout lines I'd scrubbed earlier. Someone called, "Where's the pool?" as if this were a tour. Out, I said. The word came low and even, and no one heard it. Got this light, Melissa said, turning in the center of the foyer like a realtor on commission. Where's the master upstairs? She didn't wait for an answer. She never had. Her heels clicked a metronome counting down to a war I hadn't wanted, but was ready to fight. I followed her up. At the landing, 2 girls I didn't recognize flung open the linen closet and cooed over my towels. A boy darted past me with a cannonball whoop, even though there wasn't water in sight. Laughter followed him like soap bubbles. Each sound was small. Together, they were a swarm. Melissa threw the double doors to my bedroom wide. Sunlight flooded the bare room, mattress on the floor sheets, folded, unopened frame leaning like a promise I hadn't kept yet. She walked straight to the balcony and shouldered the door open. This view, she breathed, pulling off her sunglasses. Perfect for morning yoga videos. My followers will die. This room is mine, I said. She glanced back, impatience twitching at the corner of her mouth. You have 4 other bedrooms. It's not about rooms. She tilted her head, smile freezing just enough to show its teeth. Then what is it about hospitality, gratitude, being happy? Your sister is finally visiting. 2 women wheeled in suitcases and parked them on my folded sheets. The metal zippers glittered in the sun like tiny knives. Off, I said, pointing. Those don't go there. One of them blinked at me as if I'd spoken a language no one uses anymore. We'll be quick, she said, and unzipped anyway. Something small inside me tore cleanly like thread cut by sharp scissors. You can stay in a hotel, I said to Melissa. She laughed. We drove 4 hours. You can drive 10 more back? Her eyes found mine then, and the performance slid a fraction. I saw the heat of it, the need to win, to plant a flag to make my life her stage. Don't do this, she said softly, stepping into my space so her perfume eclipsed the salt air. You don't want to be the kind of person who turns away family. I already was the kind of person who turned away myself. Behind her, the chorus swelled, entitlement dressed as normalcy. Don't ruin the vibe. She's just stressed from moving. It's only 3 weeks, a beer can cracked open. The hiss felt obscene in this room. A young guy popped his head into my closet. Babe, her dresses are gorgeous. We can shoot tonight. Get out of my closet, I said, and my voice must have hit a frequency that belonged to fathers and locked doors because he flinched. Melissa's smile hardened. Rebecca, enough. We're here. We're staying. You have space. Stop being selfish. I thought of all the times selfish had been the word used to strip me for parts. I thought of the nights I'd stayed at the office because I'd promised a deadline of the holidays eaten from a plastic clamshell under fluorescent lights, of the long climb to a vista I'd bought for myself. I pictured the bed frame and its cardboard Allen wrench clicking, a quiet afternoon spent making something solid. I stepped between her and the bed, an emotion that felt like muscle memory from a life I hadn't yet lived. Everyone, I said, voice, steady, not loud, the way steel is steady without announcing itself out of this room. Shoes scuffed. Suitcase wheels paused. For a second, our eyes locked hers, daring me to blink first, mine busy, learning not to. No one moved. A woman in oversized sunglasses snorted. You invited us, didn't you? That's what Melissa said. I did not, I said. She's family, someone else added like a trump card thrown on the table. Family doesn't turn family away. Family doesn't invade, I said. Melissa's jaw clenched so tightly a muscle jumped near her ear. You will regret this, she whispered, angling closer so only I could hear. You'll lose me. You'll lose all of us. I felt that line press an old bruise. Loneliness is a door with a bottomless drop behind it. I have stood in that doorway before, toes curled on the edge. But the worst loneliness I've ever known was a room full of people using me while calling it love. Get out. I said the words crisp as a receipt printing. All of you, now. The air thinned. For a heartbeat, nothing existed but the sound of the ocean pulling back from the rocks. No one moved. No one moved. The ocean kept breathing beyond the balcony, steady and indifferent, while 15 strangers and one sister waited to see if I would blink. I didn't. Instead, I stepped to the bed, lifted the 2 suitcases off my folded sheets, and set them on the floor. Out of this room, I repeated, calm enough to hear the click in my jaw. Now. A ripple of offense. The woman with the giant sunglasses gave a small laugh and reached to put her suitcase back where I'd removed it. I caught the handle first. Don't touch my things, I said. Melissa's smile thinned. Rebecca, you're embarrassing yourself. No, I said. I'm just finally including myself. I crossed to the closet and shut the door palm flat against the wood to feel it latch. The young guy who'd been peeking in there muttered something about psycho energy. I turned and looked at him until his face flushed. Phone's on the dresser, he said, pointing to the pile of hands already fishing through pockets. Everyone, now. Why, a girl asked, half laughing, half challenging. Because I'm not going to have you filming me in my bedroom and editing it into a morality play for strangers. I held out my hand. Phones. To my surprise, a few actually complied, reflexive obedience to a voice that sounded like authority. Melissa did not. Her phone hovered face down in her palm, her thumb resting on the edge like a cat's paw on a glass. She tilted her head. Becky, this is getting weird. You don't want to be the kind of woman who calls the police on family. I want to be the kind of woman who believes herself. I picked up the suitcases from the floor and wheeled them into the hallway one after another, listening to the wheels purr across the wood, like something content to be moved. When I turned back, Melissa was at the balcony, her hand on the door, claiming light that didn't belong to her. She inhaled and put her civilian voice away, pulling on the one she used for audiences. Everyone she called loud and bright Becky's just overwhelmed. Give her a minute. Unpack. We'll be fine. She started to step toward me again, shoulders squared for another round. That was when I saw it, the fake rock key, absent from the rosemary bed outside. If they had the key, they could come and go. Even if I forced them out of this room this moment, the house would never sleep again until I changed the locks. I turned on my heel and left. Not a retreat, a pivot. Melissa's friends murmured as I passed the way. People whisper at a museum when an alarm has just started to beep. Downstairs, the foyer looked like a high school hallway. After a pep rally, bags dropped, shoes scattered, someone's tote gaping with sunscreen and tangled chargers. I stepped over a heap of towels and set the 2 suitcases on the porch. The air hit my face like a cool hand. I went to the kitchen, grabbed the folder labeled Deed and Docs from the console, flipped it open, and verified the papers were still crisp and ready. Deed, insurance, HOA rules, move-in inspection photos. I lined them like a hand of cards on the console table by the door. Then I walked through the house like a forewoman on a site front, windows locked. Back sliders secure, balcony doors latched. I noted without emotion every small insult as data water rings on the entry bench, sandy prints across the tile, a beer can sweating on my counter. By the time I reached the study, my hands had stopped shaking. The heavy oak door still smelled like the tree it used to be. I closed it, turned the lock, and set the folder on my desk. The room hushed in a way the rest of the house couldn't anymore. My phone buzzed so hard, it hopped once on the desk. Melissa. A flood of texts stacked under her name. Open the door. Don't be ridiculous. You're scaring people. We're family. My finger hovered over her thread, then swiped it aside. I opened the Notes app and typed 2:42 p.m. Melissa entered using spare key without permission. 15 additional individuals. Refused request to leave bedroom. Beer opened upstairs. Suitcases placed on bedding. Closet entered. It sounds petty to document the small things. It isn't. It's how you keep yourself from gaslighting yourself later. A thud rattled the study door sharper than fists. Something solid meeting wood. Becky. Melissa's voice through the grain. Stop hiding. You're being absurd. Just talk to me. We're talking, I said. Face to face. You're not listening, I said. And the truth of that went through me like clean water. The doorknob turned. The lock held. A second thud, then the unmistakable scratch of metal on metal. My stomach sank. The key again, my mistake again. I moved quickly, shoulder to the door, more symbolic than effective. The lock held a second time, but the sound did something to the part of me that keeps count of what lasts. I picked up my phone. My thumb hesitated for one heartbeat, looking for the old reflex that would have me negotiate, beg, offer terms I'd pay for later. It wasn't there. I dialed. 911, the operator said. What's your emergency? My name is Rebecca Collins, I said. Hearing my full name in my own voice steadied me. I'm at my residence. I gave the address. Approximately 15 individuals entered my home without my permission using a hidden key. I asked them to leave. They refused. They're attempting to force entry into my study now. Are you in immediate physical danger? Calm, even the voice of a person who hears worse every day. Not yet, I said. The third thud hit the door. But they won't leave and they're escalating. I have my deed and move-in documentation here. I can show proof of ownership. Stay in the secured room, she said. Keep the line open. Officers are on the way. How long, I asked before I could stop myself. Stay with me, she said. And I did. I stayed with the sound of her typing, with the soft static of a connection, with the ocean in the near distance, with the small bright part of me that had not gone silent just because they were loud. On the other side of the door, voices rose and fell. Someone laughed too hard, the brittle kind that cracks on the last note. A woman asked Melissa if maybe they should leave and find a hotel. Melissa hissed something I couldn't catch. The laugh track dimmed. Silence pooled. My phone buzzed in my hand. A new text, not from Melissa, from a neighbor down the cove, whose number I'd saved yesterday after exchanging trash pickup days. Saw a convoy at your place. Everything okay? I typed back, not really. Police en route? The reply was immediate. I have ring footage of them coming in. Want me to send it? Relief pinpricked behind my eyes. Yes, please. Email Rebecca. I gave the address, hand steady. Another thud hit the door, then a ragged chorus of whispers. My name was a hiss, threaded through them over and over. Becky. Becky, Becky. Like repetition could turn me back into the person they preferred. I set the phone on speaker and laid it on the desk. The operator's presence, a hum calm as the AC. Police are closed, she said, reading my mind. Thank you. Do not open the door, she added. Wait for them to announce. A knock this time, gentle tapped the wood just above my head. Melissa's voice slid low, intimate. Becky, last chance. You bring cops into this, you humiliate me in front of my friends, I will never forgive you. I let the words float in the space between us and then fall. Some threats arrive empty. Some arrive full, but no longer apply. I hear you, I said, and still no. We stayed there, me and my no, while the house listened. The ocean inhaled, exhaled. Somewhere far down the coast, a siren started small and grew. The siren started as a rumor and grew into a fact. Through the study door, the house felt it. Before I did, air pressure, shifting voices, thinning, the kind of quiet that drops when a teacher steps into a room. Officers are arriving, the dispatcher said in my ear. Stay where you are. A artificial pounding shook the front door. Not fists, authority. Police, a voice called. Announce yourselves. Chaos answered. Feet scrambling, whispers, slicing a beer can clattering across my marble like a guilty coin. Melissa's tone flipped on cue. I could hear it even through the wood, sweet, helpful, aggrieved. The actress found her mark. I opened the study door and walked into the foyer as she pulled the front door wide. 2 officers stepped in, a tall man with gray at his temples and a younger woman with eyes like measuring tape. Everything noted, nothing missed. Officers. Melissa breathed, hands clasped. Thank goodness. My sister is having, she searched for a word that would land an episode. The female officer's gaze moved past her to me. Are you the caller? Yes, I said. Rebecca Collins, homeowner. I gestured to the console where I'd fanned my paperwork. Deed, insurance, move-in inspection, HOA rules. The male officer took the folder, flipping one page, then another, nodding once. The female officer swept the room with her eyes, muddy half-moons on marble, a sweating beer can on my counter shoes, piled like a yard sale, strangers clutching phones and pretending not to film. Ma'am, the male officer said to me, did you invite these people into your home? No, I said. My sister used a spare key from a fake rock without permission. I asked them to leave. They refused. They attempted to enter a locked room. Melissa laughed lightly, a bell sound that had gotten her out of more than anyone would admit. We drove 4 hours. She's new here. We're just visiting. She left the key out. That means leaving a key out, the female officer said, voice flat, as a rule book is not consent for unlawful entry. Her gaze cut to the group, phones down. Half the hands lowered instinctively. The rest hovered until her eyebrows rose. Then those lowered too. Melissa pivoted, turning earnestness up a notch. We're family. This is a misunderstanding. The officer looked at me. Would you like these individuals removed from your property? The question landed in me like a key turning. No more debating. No more trying to be the kind of woman who keeps everyone comfortable but herself. Yes, I said. All of them. A small gust seemed to move through the room. Protest swallowed alibis, recalculated. The male officer handed my folder back, his tone even. You have 15 minutes to gather your belongings and vacate. If you remain, you can be cited for trespass and, if necessary, arrested. Do you understand? Murmurs, a scoff, a mumbled curse. The youngest guy tilted his chin like a dare, then dropped it when the female officer's attention found him. Melissa kept smiling, but her jaw was tight enough to creak. Becky, she said softly, the intimacy ablaze. Think about what you're doing. I said. I've been thinking about it for years. The room broke into motion, resentful, chaotic, unwilling. Suitcases yanked shut, towels scooped up. Someone tried to pocket one of my linen napkins. The female officer didn't speak, just looked, and the napkin dripped back onto the counter, like a stolen thought returned. A woman in oversized sunglasses brushed past me, shoulder hard. You'll die alone, she hissed, because cruelty is a baton. Some people pass when the music changes. Better alone than used, I said mostly to myself, and felt the words click into a place that had been waiting. At the base of the stairs, 2 girls fumbled with my folded sheets, unsure how to undo what they had undone. Leave them, I said. I'll handle it. In my bedroom, a suitcase still sat on the mattress where I'd first moved it. I picked it up and set it gently on the floor. Small control, clean line. Downstairs, the male officer stood at the open door like a metronome. 10 minutes. Melissa floated toward me, alone now, as her entourage bled out to the drive in irritated clumps. Congratulations, she said under her breath. You've made a scene. I made a boundary, I said. Same thing, she snapped the mask, finally slipping to show the raw. You humiliated me. You humiliated yourself, I said, by assuming. Her eyes flashed. You think this house makes you better than us? You think money buys you? No, I said. It bought me this door. I decide who crosses it. For the first time all day, she didn't have a line ready. The pause felt like a breeze after hours of stale air. The female officer reappeared from the hall. Everyone who isn't the homeowner this way, please? Her tone left no room for personality. The group funneled past a parade of glares and mutters. Someone apologized under their breath, a quick human flicker that made something unclench in me. Another rolled his eyes so hard I thought he might see his own bad decisions. On the porch, the officer's voice became procedure. If you return without invitation, the homeowner may file a no trespass order. Do not test that. One by one, they crossed the threshold they hadn't believed in. The van door slammed. The cooler squealed across stone. The pickup's engine coughed. Sound gathered itself to leave. Melissa lingered. Of course she did. She had to have the last small thing. You'll regret this, she whispered, stepping close enough that her perfume smothered the salt air. You'll lose me. You'll lose all of us. I looked at her and felt something simple grief without permission. I already lost you when family became a word you used to unlock me. Her mouth twitched. For a breath, the little sister inside me reached for the version of her I used to chase. Then it passed. 5 minutes, the male officer called. She lifted her suitcase with a brittle grace and rolled it toward the door. At the threshold, she turned back, hunched a smile onto her face, and pitched it for the cheap seats. Love you, sis. I didn't answer. The door closed on the last heel. Silence pressed into the wood like a blessing. Outside engines receded. Tires hissed along the coastal road. The ocean kept breathing. Do you want to file a formal no trespass notice? The female officer asked. Yes, I said. And I'd like a copy of the incident report. She nodded. We'll email it, document any damage, change your locks. A glance at the console. You were prepared. Only recently, I said. They left me with a card and the quiet. The house stood still in that first minute after chaos. The air too clean, the edges too sharp. I walked slowly like an investigator at a scene I both owned and survived. A beer ring on the counter. Watermarks on the bench. Sandy crescents on the tile. Tiny trespasses, each with its own small sting. In my bedroom, the sheets were still folded. The unopened bed frame leaned like a promise I decided to keep. I poured water into the wine glass instead of wine and carried it to the balcony. The breeze moved through the curtains. The ocean inhaled, exhaled. I put the glass down and didn't spill. My phone buzzed. A text from the neighbor. Sent you the ring footage. Use it if you need. I typed, thank you. Then I flipped my phone face down and let the room be a room again. Silence arrived like surf after a boat cuts through first ragged, then clean. The house held still. The air conditioner found its hum again. Somewhere down the road, a gull laughed like it knew a joke I didn't. I walked the rooms with a towel and a trash bag, picking up the small trespasses one by one. A beer ring wiped to a ghost, then to nothing. Watermarks lifted from the bench. Sandy crescents swept into a soft heap I carried to the bin. I shook out the folded sheets and made my bed on the floor a calm, ordinary motion, the kind you do with your hands when your heart is still deciding where to land. In the foyer, the officer's card lay on the console beside my neat stack of documents. I added a sticky note, change locks. Monday. Then another email neighbor ring footage. I liked that my life could hold verbs that were mine again. The phone buzzed where I'd left it face down. I let it buzz once, twice. On the third, I flipped it over. The thread had already swollen texts piling under Melissa's name like hailstones. You didn't have to call the cops. We were trying to help you settle in. Everyone's upset. We're family. Then the screenshots arrived group chats where my name had been converted to a villain's nickname. A photo of my front door captioned with tiny revenges. A cropped clip from someone's phone showing me closing the door, but not the part where they used the key. The cut turned my refusal into a tantrum. Another message, this time from a cousin I loved in a different lifetime. Hey, what happened? Melissa says you invited them and freaked out. Call me. I typed and deleted twice. Then I didn't invite them. They used a hidden key. I asked them to leave. I called when they tried to force a locked door. I have the deed and a police report. I'm okay. Typing bubbles flickered, disappeared. No reply. A new notification lit the top of the screen. A Facebook tag, a post spinning fast. Melissa had written 3 paragraphs in a tone I knew too well, concerned doing drag as love. My sister just bought a beautiful house and is going through a lot. We drove hours to surprise her, bring love, and help her move in. She didn't take it well. Please send prayers. Mental health is important. Underneath, a chorus rose, so sad. Family over everything. Money changes people. A predictable aunt added, we don't abandon blood. The post gathered likes like burrs. I opened the comment box and closed it again. Then I opened the Notes app and wrote instead, facts I did not invite them. Hidden key used without permission. Asked to leave, refused. Attempt to enter, locked study. Police called, report filed, ring footage incoming. I attached the neighbor's email when it landed 2 clean angles of the convoy, Melissa at the door, the fake rock in her hand. I forwarded the videos to my cloud and saved them to an external drive, then wrote a neutral timestamped email to myself, with the details the way my therapist once taught me to build a ladder inside a storm. My voicemail icon pulsed. I pressed play. Mom's voice filled the room. Not furious, worse composed. Becky, I saw Melissa's post. I wish you had handled this privately. She said you called the police. She is humiliated. You know how sensitive she is. We have to keep family together. Please call your sister and apologize. I'm sure you didn't mean it to go this far. I sat on the edge of the mattress and stared at the balcony doors. Outside, the ocean was doing what it always does, unbothered by narratives. Keep family together, Mom had said, as if the work of that had always belonged to me. As if I hadn't been holding bones in place with both hands for years, while everyone admired the person who kept breaking them. I called the number on the officer's card first. A clerk picked up efficient and bored. I gave my report number, asked for a copy when it was ready, and confirmed the email address. Then I called a locksmith and booked a Monday morning changeout. Front back balcony sliders, I said, and the garage keypad. The man on the line made approving noises like I'd ordered a salad instead of cake. Last I Googled a property attorney and booked a consult. When the receptionist asked for the reason, I said trespass documentation, possible no trespass order, and a question about defamation. The words tasted like metal, but also like medicine. Paperwork done. I went looking for my body. I found it in the kitchen barefoot on cool tile, pouring water into the wine glass. The first glass disappeared in 3 swallows. The second I carried to the balcony. Evening pushed color onto the water, like someone shading the world with a thumb. The breeze lifted the curtain hems to brush my calves. Far down the coast, another siren drifted, maybe a mile off, maybe a lifetime. The phone buzzed again. Aunt Nora saw FB. Call your mother. She's upset. My therapist's voice, quiet practice, arrived like a hand on my shoulder. Not every summons is your responsibility. I set the phone face down and watched the horizon draw its simple line. I thought about my parents' photo waiting for a nail. About the bed frame and the Allen wrench. About how making a bed is a kind of prayer when you have new ground to stand on. The silence wasn't empty. It was filled with choices. Which story I would accept. Which I would tell. Which I would let pass. I went room by room with a pen light and a notebook finishing what I'd started documenting scuffs, listing items misplaced, taking 3 photos from 3 angles, dating, and timestamping each entry. It was tedious. It was anchoring. By the time I reached the foyer again, the house belonged to me in a way it hadn't that morning. Not because I owned it, but because I had stayed. My phone lit one more time. My niece, Melissa's daughter, a kid with a soft voice and eyes that hold more than they say. Aunt Becky, are you okay? Yes, I wrote. I'm safe. I love you. She wrote back a single heart. Then Mom is really mad. I know. I'm sorry. It's not your job to fix it, I typed. I'm here if you need me. I locked the front door, then unlocked it and locked it again, like knocking on wood. I stood there with my palm on the oak and said out loud, because sometimes you have to hear yourself mean it. My door, my rules. In the study, the deed and docs folder lay where I'd left it. I slid the neighbor's videos inside and added a new tab, narrative. Under it, I placed a printed copy of my notes. If Melissa took this into the court of public opinion, I would answer in the court of record, not with rage, with receipts. When I finally lay down on the mattress, the house shifted around me into sleep. The waves stitched themselves to the edge of the night. I didn't dream. Or I did, and it looked like a door closing quietly and locking with a clean click. By morning, the story had grown legs. My phone woke to 57 notifications, tags, DMs, missed calls. Melissa's post had metastasized into sub-post screenshots of screenshots until the context had been washed out like ink in the rain. In one clip, someone had trimmed the footage so it looked like I slammed the door in Melissa's face while she stood there with open arms. The part where she used the key never made the edit. The caption did the rest. Pray for my sister. The locksmith arrived at 8:15, a man with forearms like oaks and a voice that made everything sound solvable. Front back sliders and the garage keypad, I said. He nodded approval, like I'd successfully identified constellations. When he held up the old cylinder from the front door, I felt something unhook under my ribs. He handed me the bag of new keys. I kept one and dropped the rest into a small fireproof box. While he worked, an email from the HOA landed. We received a noise complaint from multiple residents yesterday evening. Please review attached community rules regarding occupancy and disturbances. I scrolled to the line that mattered. The homeowner is responsible for guests they invite. I marked it up with a note, not invited. Police report, Dice. I replied with the incident number and the ring clips. The community manager answered within minutes. Understood. Thanks for clarifying. A text from my boss blinked on the screen. Everything okay? Saw something on Facebook. I closed my eyes, took one ocean-length breath and typed, I'm okay. Uninvited family tried to move in. Police removed them. I have documentation. If anything extends to work, I'll loop HR. He wrote back, understood, here if needed. Then came Melissa's video. Portrait mode, puffy eyes, raw voice. She said she was so embarrassed to share, but needed to break the stigma. She spoke about watching someone you love push you away when they need you most. She never said my name. She didn't have to. The comments filled with armchair diagnoses and Bible verses. I placed my phone face down and opened my laptop for the property attorney consult. The firm had offered a Saturday slot. My face met mine in the small window before a woman named Garcia joined hair in a practical bun eyes that had seen worse and better than this. Give me the facts in 2 minutes, she said. I did. No adjectives. Hidden key. Refusal to leave. Attempt to enter a locked room. Police. Report number. Ring footage. Social media smear. HOA clarified. Good, she said. You preserved contemporaneous notes? I held up my notebook. I told her about the self-email that timestamps the photos from 3 angles. She smiled like a teacher who just watched a student show their work. Okay, Garcia said. Fingers steepled, 3 lanes, 1 property rights. We'll draft a formal no trespass notice for your sister, and any named associates deliver by certified mail. And if needed, file with local PD so any future call-out is frictionless. 2, defamation. Most of what you're describing will fall under opinion and will be annoying, but not actionable. If she states false facts, e.g., Rebecca invited us and you can prove falsity and damage, we consider a narrowly tailored cease and desist. Keep your responses factual and minimal. Do not engage in comment wars. Your evidence will be our voice. 3, insurance and liability. Call your insurer. Confirm coverage. Ask about steps to mitigate exposure if uninvited parties return or claim injury. It was like having the ocean translated back into air. What about my mother? I asked, surprising myself. She's not neutral. Garcia's mouth softened. You're allowed to protect your home even if it disappoints people. Send 1 calm written message to family with 3 sentences. I did not invite them. They entered using a hidden key. The police removed them. Going forward, visits are by invitation only. Then stop. Your boundary is not a group project. I nodded. There's also my niece. Private channels with minors stay private, she said. You're not on trial for loving a child. We built a plan. She would email a draft no trespass letter by Monday, plus a template for a firm non-defensive family note. I'd forward police reports, ring clips, the HOA email, and screenshots of any post that stated false facts. She warned me to take care of my own story. No subtweets, no vague book, no reactive paragraphs at midnight. We don't feed a fire we plan to put out with paperwork, she said. After we hung up, I called my insurer. The rep asked if any property was damaged and if anyone was injured. No and no, I said. Good, she said. Document everything. If anyone tries to claim they were invited, your police report and HOA correspondence support your position. She recommended a simple camera system with cloud backup. I added it to my list under the sticky note that said narrative. At noon, a delivery truck rumbled up the drive. The driver handed me a flat envelope requiring signature certified mail. The return address was Melissa's apartment. I signed, closed the door, and stood with the envelope in my hand, long enough to hear my heart pick a tempo. Inside, a printed letter, on no letterhead, thick with legalese she'd pulled from somewhere foul. To whom it may concern. On day 8, you engaged in humiliating and dangerous behavior toward me and my guests, causing emotional distress and reputational harm. If you do not publicly apologize within 24 hours and host our family for the duration of our planned trip, we will explore legal remedies. I laughed a clean surprise sound. Then I slid the letter into the Deed and Docs folder under a new tab I labeled Bluffs. A new text arrived from an unknown number. This is Aunt Nora's friend. She's a mediator. She can help you two talk. I typed thank you. Not at this time. Another number pinged with a link to Melissa's video. I didn't press play. I stepped onto the balcony with a bowl of fruit and ate standing up, sunlight on my forearms, the breeze lifting the hairs there, like a reminder I was still an animal and still allowed to protect my den. Down on the road, a car slowed rubberneckers rerouting their afternoon to see the scene of a story. I went inside and shut the curtains. Let them stare at their own reflections. I sent the family note Garcia had greenlit. Hi everyone. To clarify, I did not invite Melissa or her group. They entered with a hidden key. I asked them to leave. They refused and attempted to enter a locked room. Police removed them. Going forward, visits are by invitation. Please contact me directly before coming by. I won't be discussing this on social media. Delivered. Read, read, read. The replies separated themselves into types, the neutral. Thanks for clarifying the scolding. You should have kept this private, the manipulative. Your sister only wanted to celebrate you, the brave, my niece. I'm sorry for the post. I told mom to take it down and the honest uncle proud of you for standing up for yourself. At 3:40 p.m., the neighbor sent another short message. If you want, I can swing by tonight. Safety in numbers. I told him thank you, then added, I'm okay. And for the first time, I almost believed it was not a line but a fact. I cleaned the last of the footprints, took 3 more photos than I needed, then sat on the floor beside the unopened bed frame. The Allen wrench waited in a taped pouch at one end. I cut it loose and turned the first bolt. The satisfying click of thread catching thread felt like a language my hands still spoke fluently, make something solid, piece by piece. The phone buzzed again. Mom! I let it go to voicemail. When the little red dot lit, I didn't press play. Not because I was cruel, because I was learning which voices made me smaller and which let me stand up straight. By dusk, the new locks were in. The HOA had filed my note. The attorney's email arrived with subject lines that sounded like scaffolding. No trespass draft family clarification template evidence folder structure. I filed each where it belonged, then shut the laptop and stood at the door I had chosen. My door, my rules, my narrative. And then because the house was finally quiet, and quiet is a kind of mirror, I felt the tug of something older than yesterday's chaos. A reel of memories I'd stored behind a wall labeled Don't Think About It began to loosen the first rent check at 23 the wedding bill. The way I held my breath through childhood dinners so the room would stay nice. It wasn't just yesterday, it was a lifetime. The Allen wrench clicked steady in my hand, but my mind was louder. Every turn of a bolt pulled up another reel of memory I had tried to bury. I was 23, new job, cheap futon, barely enough for rent. Melissa called, just this once, Becky. I'll pay you back. She didn't. I told myself it was temporary. Temporary became a habit. At 28, she maxed out a credit card on a girls' trip. I offered to help her budget. She rolled her eyes. I don't need a lecture, I need a stopgap. So I wrote the check. Again, 31 her wedding. Imported flowers, a dress brighter than my car. She clasped my hands in a cafe, whispered, this day means everything to me. I signed. Later, she bragged about how magical it was. My bank account still carried the bruise. 33 tuition for her son. He doesn't deserve to suffer for my mistakes, she said. I wired the money, picturing his acceptance letter. Days later, she posted about her spa weekend to recover from the stress. My stomach turned, but I swallowed it. That was the rhythm her emergencies, my wallet, and the word family stretched to fit any debt. In childhood, it was the same Melissa smashing plates at dinner, Dad telling me to keep the peace, Mom's eyes begging me to be glue. I don't remember my first boundary. I remember my first apology for having one. A buzz on the counter yanked me back. Mom's voicemail. I pressed play. Her voice was calm, worse than anger. I saw Melissa's post. She says you screamed slammed doors. If that's true, I'm disappointed. Family is all we have. Call me when you've thought about your part. My part. Always my part. I looked at the photo of our parents on the mantle. Dad's hand on Mom's shoulder, both smiling into sunlight the camera didn't catch. Would they have told me to soften, or would they finally say the thing I never heard in their voices? You're allowed. A new text, my niece. Aunt Becky, are you mad at me? No, I typed. I love you. This isn't your fault. She sent a heart. Then I liked your house. The ocean sounds nice. It is. Come visit when I invite you. We'll make pancakes and ignore our phones. 3 dots blinked, vanished. I pictured her in a dark room, Melissa pacing outside, and felt a grief sharper than anger. I set down the wrench, stretched my back, and looked at the half-built frame. I tightened the last bolts, unrolled the mattress, and lay flat listening to the house settle. The silence didn't erase the history, but it let me name it. and naming is how you stop being haunted. Monday morning, lights spilled across the kitchen table where I had laid out everything that mattered. Deed police report ring footage and the draft letters Ms. Garcia had sent me. No hashtags, no speeches, just paper with weight. The no trespass notice to Melissa was short. Almost cold, you are not permitted to enter this property. Certified mail would carry it farther than any late-night post ever could. My hand shook as I signed, not from doubt, but from habit breaking. At the post office, the clerk stamped it without ceremony. For him, it was routine. For me, it was a lifetime shifting from memory to record. Back home, I called my insurer. No damage, no injuries, I confirmed. The rep told me to keep documenting and suggested I install cameras. Another tool, another layer. I wrote it down under the sticky note labeled narrative. That afternoon, Garcia called. I reviewed the screenshots she said. Most of it is opinion, but if Melissa states false facts like that, you invited her, we can act. For now, stay factual. No online sparring. Evidence only. Her voice was measured, practical, like a metronome in chaos. Later, a courier delivered an envelope with pastel lettering, a family mediation invitation. Church basement, Tuesday night. I slid it straight into the folder I'd labeled Bluffs, next to Melissa's demand letter. When the day ended, I stood at the new locks and turned each key twice, listening to the clean click. My house felt different, not because Melissa was gone, but because I had named what happened in the only language that sticks law ink boundaries. I whispered it once to the door, to myself, my rules. The Zoom link came from Aunt Nora with no warning. Subject line, family check-in. I knew what that meant. An ambush in Brady Bunch squares. When I logged in, faces filled the screen, cousins, uncles, aunts, even mom in her armchair. Melissa's box glowed brighter than the rest. Her eyes still red from the performance she'd staged online. Rebecca and Uncle began voice heavy with disappointment. Couldn't this have been handled privately? Melissa leaned forward, tone rehearsed. I just wanted to celebrate her new house. She called the police on me, on family. I waited until the noise peaked, then spoke slowly. I didn't invite them. They used a hidden key. I asked them to leave. They refused and tried to enter a locked room. Police removed them. That's the truth. I clicked share screen and showed the ring footage. Melissa fumbling with the fake rock. Strangers streaming in. Suitcases over my threshold. The meeting went quiet. She edited that video, a cousin muttered, but his voice wavered. Then came the surprise, my niece, her square small, but steady. She's not lying, she said. I told mom to stop posting. She didn't listen. For a second, Melissa's mask cracked. Her mouth open-closed. The fury beneath flickered. Mom's voice cut through brittle. Rebecca, maybe you were right legally, but you could have been kinder. Family doesn't call the cops. Family doesn't break in. I answered, calm but sharp. A silence spread. The kind where everyone realizes the script doesn't work anymore. I'll make it simple, I said. From now on, visits are by invitation only. No key, no surprise. Convoys, no exceptions. Boundaries don't mean I stopped loving anyone. They mean I finally started loving myself. Some nodded, others sighed. Melissa stared daggers at her camera, but said nothing. The call ended without a toast, without a prayer, without the old chorus. Just a set of muted boxes blinking out one by one. I closed my laptop and let the quiet fill the house again. For the first time, it felt like the tribunal hadn't judged me. It had judged itself. The house breathed with me again. No strangers in the halls, no laughter that cut like glass, no suitcase sprawled across my bed. Just the ocean's rhythm and the quiet thrum of locks I had chosen. I walked room to room, touching the doorknobs, the countertops, the window latches. Proof that I was here, that this space was mine. Not because of money, but because I finally drew a line and kept it. Melissa hadn't texted in 2 days. That silence was its own storm cloud, too quiet, too heavy. I knew she'd circle back, maybe with lawyers, maybe with another social media play, maybe with nothing but venom whispered at the next holiday table. And yet, I wasn't afraid. On the balcony, I poured water into the single wine glass I'd unpacked my first night. The sun was setting, streaking the Pacific gold. I raised the glass, not in a toast to victory, but to survival, to boundaries, to the word no spoken without apology. I thought of my niece's small square on that video, call her voice steady against the tide. I thought of pancakes, open windows, the ocean as background music. There was a future where love could exist without chains. Would Melissa ever knock again? Probably. Would she forgive? Unlikely. But for once, I understood the choice was mine. The locks were mine, the silence was mine. And maybe that was the point, not to fix her, not to rewrite family, but to stop erasing myself. The ocean inhaled, the house exhaled. I lifted the glass higher. My house, my rules, my voice. Thank you for watching and supporting these full story narrations. Every like, comment, and subscription helps this channel grow and reminds us all that sometimes saying no is the most powerful choice of all.